What's going on, everyone? From LowKick MMA, my name is Dan Podolsky. I am joined with Joe Solecki. He is set to return to the UFC Octagon at UFC Austin on December 2nd when he takes on Drakkar Klose. Joe, thank you so much for taking the time. Of
Yeah, man, of course. Happy to be on with you. Thanks for having me.
course, first off, how are you doing? And just how's training been going?
Great. Yeah, just finishing up a long day here at the gym. It's going great, man. It's been the toughest. I mean, every camp, I feel like I say that, but I think that's what we should be saying if we're doing our job and, upping the stakes every fight, every camp. But toughest training camp I've had, I think most thorough for sure. Yeah, and I've just been enjoying the heck out of it, man. It's been, every fight. And I guess the older I get, I get more of a reverence for fighting and appreciation. But this time it's at an all-time high for sure. So just really, really loving every minute of it. You get guys coming in and they don't mean it in a bad way, but they'll be like, "Oh, you're almost done. I'm almost done. Hang in there." I'm like, it's fine. I'm enjoying the heck out of it. I don't care if I'm in camp all year long. I'm loving it. So it's going well, man. It's going really well.
I mean, for you, I'd say you're 30. You're right in. You're heading right into your prime.
Oh, absolutely. And I feel that, it's kind of the perfect sweet spot where I've been around long enough to, you know, not rush through everything and be, sentimental and kind of appreciate these things because, I'm definitely halfway. I'm 8 years into fighting, professionally. So I'd like to go another 8. God willing, that'd be great if my body will hold up. So at the very least, I'm halfway so I can see the end. And I don't like that because I want to be here as long as I possibly can. Whereas at the beginning, I was rushing the heck out of it. I just want to be in the UFC. I just want to be doing this and say I'm there. And now we're here. And now I get to enjoy it. And, every day is kind of like a little gift there. So, yeah, I'm definitely entering my prime. I feel it. I think it's where like the body and the mind kind of meet. I have that maturity, but also I can still run circles around some of these 20-something-year-olds in the gym. So it's the best of both worlds.
And so for you, right, your last fight was in February. It'll be about 8.5 months of a layoff. Was that due to injury or was that just you taking time off to work on your game?
Yeah, well, the last few have been out of my control. Kind of this one, we had to make a decision, right? So I had a son on the way. My wife was pregnant at my last fight, and he was due in July, and we were kind of looking at, the offer to come here to Gym O, where I've been training at full time, was on the table, and we had to weigh that, and because what came with that was an opportunity to coach, so it would be a big life change and a big, really helpful thing for me and my wife. She could stay home a little bit with the kids, and we had to make a decision. So it was either once we decided we were going to make that move, it was I either need to fight before the baby gets here, and my cutoff was going to be like June. But coming off of the February fight, it was a tough camp. Had a couple of nagging things. I was training all year long, but just wasn't confident in my body's ability to make it through a camp. Where we were starting out. So kind of just made the decision of let's move to Charlotte, North Carolina, and get settled, and let's do our camp there. So kind of a conscious decision, like the things we talked about. I knew I'm entering my prime. I knew. I've been calling it Act Two. So, it was kind of taking that conscious break, which I don't like to do. I like to be active, but this was a conscious decision to be like, let's get here, let's get our ducks in a row, and let's hit the ground running. So now we're hitting the ground running.
Well, first off, congrats to you on having your son. Are you a new father or kid? What is this your first
No,
kid?
so we have a 3-year-old as well, my daughter.
Okay,
So
got it.
second time through, first
Got
time with
it.
a little boy. So
Got it.
yeah, but thank you. I appreciate it. It's been awesome, and it's life changing every single time. So I mean, yeah, just put things into perspective. Really, really makes everything really simple, and you really appreciate what matters. And it's awesome, man. Yeah, my wife was pregnant at the last fight, and now my family's coming out for fight week, but my daughter's gonna stay at the Airbnb with my in-laws, and my son's gonna be at the fight now because he's young enough where it won't make him. He's 4 months old today, so he's not gonna be freaking out. He doesn't know what's going on. So
Well,
it'll be cool, kind of. Last time he wasn't even out in the world, and now he's there. I'll have his little headphones on, and another great thing to be, a blessing to sit there and look at and look up in the stands and see them. Pretty awesome. So I'm excited.
well, again, congrats to you on that, and I'm sure that's got to give you some extra motivation. Is this your first time having one of your kids in the stadium while you're fighting?
Yeah, I did a grappling match with a Cowboy at like CFFC's grappling promotion, and my daughter came to that because it's grappling, so it was a little.
Yeah.
There's still a crowd and stuff, but it wasn't as intense as a fight would be. So that was cool, but yeah, never for a fight. So we were teetering on the border of, my daughter comes to a lot of the sessions. My whole family does, because, we all kind of do everything together. So she's at a lot of the hard sparring and stuff in the cage, and it doesn't bother her. But fight night's a little different. You get crazy crowd and all that. So she'll stay back. My son will be there. And but I'm excited. I assume we're going to have, ceremonial weigh-ins. So it'll be cool to have the whole family there for that. And yeah, it's just starting to appreciate this stuff more and more, especially with COVID, taking away being on the road and big crowd and all that. It's cool to have these opportunities that you don't know, maybe they won't come around again. Maybe I'll be back in the Apex after this. So yeah, just excited for the whole thing, and to have the family there is just an extra bonus.
Well, that'll be awesome. I'll be looking forward to seeing your son on TV, and I'm sure that'll just, give so much extra motivation having him. It's funny you mentioned that, because my next question is going to be, since the pandemic, all of your fights have been at the Apex. You got to be excited to be back in front of fans.
Yeah, and it's something I didn't know was so exciting until, they told me I was going to be fighting in Austin. So originally it was Minneapolis, but I really didn't care. I was just excited to be back in the big arena. Obviously, Austin is greater than Minneapolis when it comes to what city you want to go to. But yeah, it didn't matter where. I mean, I love fighting the Apex too. But the thing for me was, it's not about the crowd. I mean, it is really cool to walk out. Like I said, we picture this as kids. You're picturing as a professional athlete walking out in front of an arena, So, but it didn't bother me in the Apex. I like it. I thought it was pure essence of competition. Me and my team, him and his team. And by the end there was a crowd. It wasn't huge, but 100 and 200 people. So you're still getting the adrenaline of people screaming and yelling, and it's keeping you primed and ready for the big arena. But my thing was not having my family there. My wife especially. We've done all these fights together. It's my 22nd fight.
Mm-hmm.
I probably had a couple more camps because fights fell through, but we've done this thing together the whole time. So to not have her there, my brother comes out. He's a physical therapist, but he also just my brother, and we train together my whole life. So when you're limited to those 3 people stuck in the hotel, and no one can come support you, that's kind of the part that sucks. I'm not a big, I don't have an entourage or a big circle or anything, but there's a few people besides my corner I would like to be there on fight week that couldn't be. So that's exciting too. But yeah, walking out in front of that arena, it just hits different. So it's kind of the excitement, like my debut all over again. It's been so long. So I'm really excited for it.
As I say, the Apex has been very good to you. You're 4-1 there, and the only loss being that split decision that you could argue you won that fight. You came up through Contender Series. That being said, with where the UFC is at now, are you hoping to stay in front of the fans sort of in the long run? Or, if you're back to the Apex, does that place still kind of hold a special place to you?
Yeah, I don't mind. It is cool to break from the last couple of years and be out on the road, and like stuff we talked about. I've been thinking about all this a lot more, and if I win another 8 years, you fight 2-3 times a year. It's not a ton of fights left. So you want to cherish all these things. So stuff like walking out in front of that crowd, and I was saying in another interview, and I might be talking about my coaches a lot, is when Dana said this is an opportunity, not a career. People got mad and this and that, but he's right. But the other thing is, it's not just an opportunity to make, a brand or a living. It's also an opportunity to kind of put a body of work together, So I'm thinking about it in the aspect beyond all that. And man, I want to have that content to show my kids of that being bold and going out there for what you believe in. And I think, walking out in front of 20,000 people definitely is different than walking out, just for the aesthetic of it, the look of it. So it's cool. It's something that I think is, you're living out the things that I talk about, and I'm practicing what I preach every time I get to go out in that arena and go put my career on the line, put my livelihood on the line, and ultimately your body and your health. So that's something that's very exciting to me. So yes, I would like to stay out in the crowd, but I don't care, man. I want to keep climbing the ranks. I got a job to do, and I'm here to do it.
9 days out from your fight. When do you leave for Austin?
Next Tuesday. Yeah. So tomorrow being Thursday, and then a couple more days of training. We'll close out camp on Saturday, and then then we hit the road, hit the airport, and we're out of here.
Looking ahead, are you hoping to get? Obviously from North Carolina, the UFC's been to Charlotte. Are you hoping to get a fight in Charlotte or anywhere in North Carolina at some point in your UFC run?
I didn't think I really cared about that, but then I saw the Charlotte card, and that was in May, and I was still not quite it would have been a quick turnaround. And I saw it. I was like, oh, man, that actually would have been really cool. So, yes, that would be awesome. The other one that's awesome is if they go back to Atlantic City like they've been talking about. I'm from New Jersey, South Jersey specifically, which is towards Atlantic City. Have a ton of family back there. And I fought most of my regional fights up there. So that would be a cool one, too. If they go back to Boardwalk Hall, I would like to get on that as well. So, but anywhere, man, I just want to be active, So obviously we're focused on the second, nothing past that. So I'm always the boring answer guy with what happens if you win this or that. Focused on the second, but I do know no matter the outcome, we're training, preparing for a win. I do want to be active in 2024. So if that means hopping on a card like that, even better.
Let me ask you, right? You're 5-1 in the UFC. The only loss is the split decision to Jared Gordon. And yet, I feel like when people talk about these lightweights, Joe Solecki's name does not get, you don't get brought up enough. Do you feel like you're overlooked at all of that division?
It's funny that you use that word because one of my coaches and friends, John Salter, would always joke and be like, "You're the most overlooked guy I know." But the thing is I always play devil's advocate because I'm like my own worst critic. So when you look at the body of work, I think it's good. I've had some good performances, but on some of them, most of my opponents are no longer in the UFC. So it could be that. It could be a following. I don't have a huge following. Trying to put myself out there, trying to do the right things, but I'm also not willing to sell out. And I'm not saying that guys that do certain things are sellouts. I'm just not the most brash personality. So what we've been doing is putting a little more content together. One of my buddies here that trains here is a videographer, photographer, does a lot of that stuff for a living, my buddy Kevin. And we talked about it. I'm like, I'm going to put stuff out there. I want it to be genuine, So if it's a slow burn, I got to win more fights to get more opportunities. I'm fine with that, because like we said, I'm putting a body of work together. And it's about more than just, the bottom line, which of course we're here to make money. Of course, we're here to climb the ranks. Like those are things that are unspoken, but everybody knows that's understood. But I'll take the slow path. I don't care. When I got here, it was if I could stick around, if I could just get that first UFC win, okay, if I could just survive that first contract, get to a second, and I'm still here, and a lot of guys have fallen off. Mm-hmm. So it's not always who's good or who's loud or who's getting the biggest opportunities. I think it's who's left. Some guys come in and that first fight, they're calling out the top 10 and be careful what you wish for. You might get it, and now they're, their careers are in the graveyard of overly ambitious people. So I'm just going to be here, chipping away. And if that puts me at a title shot one day, fantastic. If that puts me as Jim Miller, chipping off young prospects until I retire, whatever, man. I think I truly believe it's all God's plan, and what's going to be is going to be, and I'm just going to be here working the entire time.
Well, I can say this genuinely. I truly believe you are one of the most overlooked guys in that division, and really the resume speaks for itself. 5-1. Yeah, I know you're saying some of these guys got cut, but also you got the win over Jim Miller, the split against Jared Gordon, which I personally thought you won that fight. Austin Hubbard's look good. So you don't have, it's not like a complete list. And especially going back to your last fight, it turns out to be Carl Deaton on short notice. You're supposed to fight Benoit Saint-Denis. Saint-Denis is now in that top 15. Is that a fight you're hoping to get back at some point in the future?
I mean, we've tried it a couple times, so maybe it's just not meant to be. But yeah, I mean, if I do my job, then I should be climbing too. And if not, if we're both doing our job, there's a good chance we could meet again. Lightweight's crazy, so who knows? But we were laughing the other night, man, because we had a really good game plan for that fight, and I really think it was the right recipe, because he's a guy you can't get wild with, and I'm not a wild guy. So I think, there's two parts of it. We watched him, and he kicked Frivola's poor head off. And, obviously the competitor in me was like serious and was like, that wouldn't have happened to me. And then jokingly, I looked at my wife and went, joking around. But, yeah, I mean, he's a fantastic fighter. And I think, it's a fight that maybe it wouldn't have been worth as much if I got a win over him last. Because he wasn't unknown, but he hadn't had that signature win yet. That certainly was the other night. So maybe a win over him is worth more now. So maybe it was a riskier fight at that point in time. So who knows? It wasn't meant to be, but it worked out because I got Deaton and I was able to get finished and a bonus and some life-changing stuff. So appreciative of it. But yeah, I wouldn't mind matching up with him in the future, man. He's a respectable guy, and that's what we talk about a lot with my coaches as well. Like we want guys like this, like the fight I have as well. Like just guys that are, competitors, guys that are killers, man, guys that have been here and established, and we want to do the same thing. We want to challenge ourselves. So yeah, anybody like that.
In terms of looking at guys who've been in the roster, Drakkar Klose is certainly a veteran. How do you like this matchup on paper? Have you gone to watch the film on him? And what do you think gives you the advantage over him?
I think IQ, I think he's going to be there. He's going to be in my face for sure, but that's how I fight as well. So I'm okay with that, He also seems to engage in the clinch and in grappling and stuff. So I think that plays to me as well. I think the nice thing is he's definitely got power and he's not afraid to wing, but he's won a lot of decisions. So what I do like about that is it means there's a good chance a fight's going to unfold, and not something crazy. If we can get to that point, of course, this is fighting. Anything can happen. Right? It's the theater of the unknown, and that's why everybody tunes in. Anything can happen in that first minute. We're fresh and nervous energy. But I think if a fight unfolds, it's going to be my IQ, my gas tank, and my pressure against his, and I'll take us every single time. So that's what I like about it. I like the challenge. A guy that's able to win 7 fights in the UFC, but also a lot of decisions. It shows he's well-rounded. What does a win over him say? That's what we want. We want these challenges that put us somewhere. And also, forget the notoriety, forget any of that, rankings, all that crap. It's just, I got to know. You know what I mean? Like I said the other day to my coach, like, don't tell my wife, but like, I'd fight this guy for nothing in front of nobody. Like now that was the name we were given, I got to know. I got to know where I stack up. I got to put this game plan and all my hard work to the test, man. This is 25 years in the making. I got to go put my body of work against his and see where the cards fall. But I'm very, very confident in what we've done. So I think after 15 minutes, I should be getting my hand raised.
If all goes well and you beat Drakkar Klose, are you you talked about wanting to be more active in 24. Are you hoping to get a top 15 next? I feel like at 6-1 the UFC, you would definitely deserve it if you get this win.
Yeah, I mean, I'm and it's the boring answer, but I got to do this for me, and it's also how I live my life. Is I'm right then and there, because you never know. We're planning for a win, but I could go out there and beat him and blow my knee out in the process and be out a year, and everybody forgets that I beat him. So it's impossible to plan for. I just got to do my job on the second, and then I always say the same thing, man. Is if I stack the wins, good things happen for me, my career, my family, the whole nine. So that's all it's about. I don't know what's going to happen. I thought beating Jim Miller would put me over the edge, but it was kind of a boring fight. So then, it was right back to, the middle of the road again. So I'm not sweating it. Like I said, this is it's a marathon, not a sprint. So we'll see what happens, but I'm just focused on him on the second.
Looking at this card, there's a lot of lightweights. The main event is Sarukian versus Dariush. We're supposed to get Dan Hooker versus Bobby Green. Dan Hooker's unfortunately out. It's unclear who Bobby Green's going to fight next. But for you, being on the prelims of this card, you got 3 top 15 guys right there. Does that give you any extra motivation just to kind of put yourself on notice and maybe get the attention of some of these top lightweights?
I mean, not really, because I'm so, I have the blinders on so much for this fight, but it is cool to look at how stacked it is and to be a part of that card. That's the big thing. Also, Dariush getting at it. Dariush is one of my all-time favorite fighters. So just to be on the same card as that guy is awesome. I think he's another guy that we're talking about. Obviously the bigger following because he's been around longer, but like the same type of thing, man. It took him how many fights to get to that title, or just a title eliminator. So it's somebody I have a ton of respect for, whose footsteps I kind of want to follow. So that's cool. But it has nothing to do with me. But somebody did say, like, what's crazy, sometimes these cards get jumbled. You got to make weight. You could be fighting on that. If you're a 55er on a card with a co-main and main with 55ers, you could be changing your opponent the last day. So who knows? So it's cool to just be in the mix with all these guys. And yeah, man, this is what we want. We want to be on big cards and big opportunities. And, it's very, very surreal because I don't think of myself like that until it's time to fight. And then I'm like, oh, I can hang with any one of these guys, But then when you look around and they're your peers, it's pretty cool. It's like standing across the cage from Miller or any of these guys, you're like, oh, man, like these are the guys I was watching a couple of years ago and now we're here. So very, very cool. But no one specific on my radar. I'm just worried about Drakkar and December 2nd.
Fair enough. I will ask, though, because from looking at resume, and you talk about Dariush being a guy you came up watching, I'm sure Jim Miller's got to be in the same boat. He has the most fights in UFC history, and you've got a win over that guy. That's got to be, a big sense of pride for you.
Yeah, especially being from New Jersey, and a jiu-jitsu kid. Like, they're not strict jiu-jitsu, sport jiu-jitsu, but they are grapplers. They were strangling people coming up. So I distinctly remember rooting for Jim Miller, sitting in the downstairs at Hasta Jiu-Jitsu my gym growing up, and watching the guys from Jersey. So absolutely, him and Dan, I was huge fans of, and to find myself standing across the cage from him was kind of wild. And that's somebody I also have a huge admiration for because he's just a blue collar guy, man, and that's there's still a place in the sport for guys like that. It might take you a little longer. It might take you, putting more genuine content out there or just stacking more wins. But another guy that I would not mind following the footsteps of. So, yes, definitely awesome and kind of surreal to be around guys like that, let alone fight.
Fair enough. I do want to ask you one other thing, too. So you mentioned the South Jersey. I'm personally based in Philadelphia. I'm a student at Temple. I have pushed for a while to get a card in Philadelphia.
That'd be awesome.
Is that another place that you'd love to end up at some point?
I think that would be even more awesome than Atlantic City. Hey, because just Atlantic City is near and dear to my heart, but let's be honest, it's kind of a dump. So it would be nice to fight in Philly because, you'd be at a nicer hotel. You'd just be everything be a little better. But dude, 100%. Like I grew up in South Jersey, right over the bridge. I went to school in Gloucester City.
Mhm.
If I had long enough arms, I could reach up from my algebra classroom and touch the Walt Whitman Bridge. So Philly is near and dear to my heart for sure. That would be awesome. I grew up a diehard Philadelphia sports fan. My first experience with pro sports was the Sixers championship run. Was my dad getting tickets from work to go watch Allen Iverson. And so I assumed the fight would be, what used to be the Wells Fargo Center. Is it the Wells Fargo Center? I can't remember.
Yeah,
Either way, it would be there. You know what I mean? So, like, how cool would that be? How full circle? And I have recently gotten back into being a diehard Eagles fan again. So, even more reason to come back to Philadelphia. But, yeah, man, that would be awesome. That's bucket list type stuff there, for sure.
What do you think of that Monday night game?
Dude, it was ugly, but I have an appreciation for that because that's how these fights are too, man. My coach growing up, John Hassett, would always say a win is a win is a win, and not to compare it to myself because I'm in fight mode. It's like my Miller fight, dude. Like we got to stack these wins. You know what I mean? Like being able to win under bad conditions is as important as doing it on your best night. So I don't care if they drop the ball and they should have won. Doesn't matter. They got it done. So we were ecstatic, man. It was just fun to be watching and hanging in there. And I'm excited for Sunday now. So yeah, dude. It's funny. I was a diehard like 4 major sports fan growing up, especially being in Philly. We always have great teams. And then got to high school and just focused on jiu-jitsu. Some of the jocks were kind of jerks. Like, screw regular sports. But now that I don't have that not animosity, but like that negativity toward that anymore because I'm a professional athlete. So I can let that go and enjoy other professional sports again. It's been really fun watching and having something to root for and take your mind off fighting a little bit. It's been a good time. So my wife's like, I've never seen sports show. What is this? I'm like, oh, buckle up. So she's excited for it too. She's formerly a Steelers fan, and now she's hopped on board too. She's sitting there yelling "Go Birds" and stuff. And it's been quite an interesting couple of months.
Well, I will say, glad we were able to convert her to the good side. I would say I'm a diehard Eagles fan, diehard Philly fan myself. So choose.
There you go. There you go.
It's been a solid season, even though the Eagles they win ugly, but they win.
That's all that matters.
And I've talked about this with other guys too, but I feel like between yourself, right? I feel like the UFC coming back to Philly's got to be inevitable. You have all these fighters on the rise: Sean Brady, Joe Pyfer, Andre Petrosky, Paul Felder's back in the.
He's the main event right there. You got Sabatini.
Sabatini.
There's so many, man.
There's so many,
and you got all the New York guys can come down to and sell tickets, and there's no reason. There's no reason not. They haven't been there in years, and there's no reason not to. They got to make something happen for sure.
And there's the perfect venue for it at the Wells Fargo Center. So I will.
100%.
That's a narrative that I personally push. I'll stop knocking you about, but I know as a South Jersey guy, you gotta be down to get on a card there.
Well, no, I am definitely, dude, and it's cool because it's like Washington D.C. It's like a home game because I'm in North Carolina now, but if I fought in Philly, like all the people I train with, I know. When I fought in D.C., it was a halfway point. I had everybody from Philly and Jersey came down. Everybody from it was a home game, So Philly would be even more so, man. All my family would be able to come, and it'd be easy for them to, not have to find a hotel and all that. It'd be a fun time. So, yeah, for sure.
You mentioned that you're training down in North Carolina. You're at Gym O. Who've been your main training partners for this camp? And how's training there helped you, I guess?
Yeah, it's been awesome. We've been coming to Gym O for like 5 years. I was living and training in Wilmington at Salty Dog Jiu-Jitsu with John Salter. Fought for the Bellator middleweight world title, ADCC veteran, like huge help in my career. Was a great coach. And then, the travel just started to get to me. I had, my daughter. So last camp was the first time I did like mainly here. So I would drive up on like Tuesday and then stay most of the week. And it was tough, man. Some guys enjoy that. I didn't. I'd rather have my family around. So when I was offered to come coach here, it was a no-brainer to come here full time. So it's been great. Really, really enjoying it. And man, the training partners, it's been awesome. And one thing that's really been great for me is it's kind of put me in this, I'm coaching a lot of the classes as well. So with jiu-jitsu and stuff. So kind of put me in that coaching role as well. So I get the best of both worlds. There's veterans around. We got Chris Weidman training here. Scott Holtzman was in the other day. He's retired, but helping out and stuff. And then you have the other side. I've got young, hungry guys trying to kill me every session. So I said the other day, we were doing wall work with wrestling on the wall. and I had two guys that are like Division II All-Americans multiple times over. They're putting their striking together now too. And I looked at my coach. I was like, man, I see the wolves at the bottom of the hill there, man. Like, I don't know what's going to happen in a couple camps from now when they're really putting this together. I'm teaching them jiu-jitsu. You're like, I don't want to show you stuff anymore. So, but some of those guys in the wrestling, Caleb Spears, Mitch Steen, in the MMA, my buddy Zach DeLeon, who's actually a full-time attorney, one of the best fighters I've ever trained with. He has one amateur fight. And to watch him, crush some of the guys in the gym that are pros and Bellator, it's amazing. George Lowe, Nick Rodriguez. I'm leaving a bunch of people out, I'm sure, but we have a bunch of good middleweights. Paul Carson, and I get in there with them too, and that's miserable because they're giant and I'm not. Tom Lane, a bunch of guys here that are up and comers, and just it's been awesome, man. Just having everybody in the gym, having the younger guys to make me want to kind of lead from the front a little bit, and it's been great, man. So, and Jeff Jimmo is the guy; he's the glue, man. He holds it all together, and the team is special, the atmosphere is special. We have great classes with kickboxing and stuff, but Jeff is the secret sauce, and he doesn't want to be put out there and stuff, but man, he's done everything for me. Like I always compare him to like when you hear about like the Mike Tyson custom motto, like from telling you what time to go to bed tonight, like, hey, make sure you get this and that and this kind of like it's all encompassing. He did the conditioning for me, everything, and wants almost nothing in return, man. It's amazing. Just our best effort. So it's been awesome, man. The thing I've been telling myself, I've been stealing the Eagles thing, the hungry dogs run fast. I've been using a little hashtag and stuff, but like that's my mindset, with these guys here is I don't care what their record is. I don't care if you're a black belt, a white belt. I just want to be around other hungry dogs who want to climb, want to get after it. If you're, I've had guys come up, they have the same conditioning program that I have. Can I do the workout with you? Dude, if you're a hungry dog and you want to run fast, let's do it. I've been guilty of being an elitist in the past, I think, and just being on a high horse and like, oh, like this guy doesn't have a future. This guy, no. I just want to be around hungry dogs, and that's what I'm surrounded by here. It's what a blessing.
Well, Joe, I'm wishing you the best of luck. And just my final question, December 2nd in Austin, Drakkar Klose, Joe Solecki. Joe, give me your official prediction.
I'm predicting a grind, man. But the thing I've been doing is a slow burn, man. I've been cooking guys. And I think over 3 rounds, I put that pressure on. I'll cook him. And if he makes a mistake, I am definitely prepared to make him pay. But if he plays it, cautious, then I think I'll break him over time. I think I'll just I'll convince 3 judges, over 15 minutes that I'm far more dominant. But it's fighting every position tooth and nail, man. And I think that's what I do really, really well. So excited to go out there and show the world what I can do. And man, what a body of work we've been putting together, and just thankful for another opportunity, and thankful for my coaches, my team, my family. It's been amazing, man. So yeah, it's been awesome. Just really excited to go put a body of work together on the 2nd.
Well, Joe, thank you so much for taking the time. I'm wishing you the best of luck. If you got any socials, teams, whoever you want to shout out, go right ahead.
Yeah, just everyone that we talked about here at Jimmo, everybody at Salt Dog Jiu-Jitsu, man. Like, I would not be in the UFC if I didn't move my family, or just me and my wife at the time, to Wilmington to train with John Salter and everybody at Salt Dog Jiu-Jitsu. So I can't thank them enough. Everybody at Fitness Edge MMA in Myrtle Beach, where I started this whole ride off. And yeah, man, I would not be here without those guys as well. Chris Gowd Boxing down in Myrtle Beach as well. And the support that I got moving, because everybody knew it was for the best of my family, was really special too. It's easy for people to be selfish and, hate on you and say, oh, you're leaving. But instead to have the opposite, was pretty cool. So just thanks to all of them. And I want to thank my lifelong instructor, John Hassett. I said it in another interview as well, but I can't say it enough, is to this day, I left at 18, I'm 30. So to have that relationship still, go back and train, but also he checks on me all the time, just, and not just like, oh, hey, how you doing? Like stuff that challenges me, so he'll check on me with my faith and, my family and just all kinds of things. And one of the biggest decisions in actually making this move was sitting and talking with him. And, just somebody who's been there, done that, lived this life for how many years, and to put stuff in perspective, we had a conversation and I said, yeah, I want to go away for camp. I got to do this, but also like I had the opportunity to move. And he said, well, what's going to happen when you come back in 5 years? You're like, honey, I bought the belt and this and that. And she goes, oh, we didn't want all that. We don't know you. We're leaving, and it was like this sobering, like, yeah, you're exactly right. Like he just doesn't support me in so many ways like that, like making me feel confident in taking that leap. I said it to him the other day, is like, I've had conversations with him when I'm 10 years old. He's pointing out do what you love. You never work a day in your life. Like, who takes the time to talk to a 10-year-old like that? So I wouldn't be doing this if I didn't meet him. And I just want to shout him out and his family. They're always so supportive, and they're a heck of a jiu-jitsu school too. So if you're in South Jersey and you want to learn martial arts, go to Haston Jiu-Jitsu. But yeah, man, that's it. Thank you so much for having me on. I appreciate you giving me the time, and it was great talking with you.
Of course, Joe, thank you so much for taking the time. Guys, Joe Solecki returns to the UFC Octagon in Austin. He takes on Drakkar Klose on December 2nd. You're not going to want to miss this fight. Joe, thank you so much for taking the time. The final thing I'm going to say to you, go Birds.
Go Birds. Appreciate it, Danny. Thanks for having me, man.
Make sure to subscribe to the LowKick MMA YouTube channel for all the latest news, event previews, and interviews with some of the biggest stars in MMA.